There are so many amazing and dynamic characters in the world of One Piece that it's sometimes hard to remember that a lot of these captains have crews backing them, and that these crew members are essential to not only their journey, but who the captains are as characters. Luffy would never have made it this far without every single member of his crew, and that's a fact, and that goes for every other pirate captain in the series. It's no wonder that the Pirate King, Gol D. Rogers' crew was so massive because he traveled all over the entire world in search for every single island. Sure, we know Roger, Rayleigh, Scopper, Crocus, but have you ever seen this guy before? This is Jackson Banner. I have searched and scoured every single chapter the Roger Pirates are a part of, and he's only shown up in one chapter, in one panel. So when I tell you that everything surrounding this character heavily foreshadows Joy Boy,
stop the cap.
I know you're not going to believe me, but just hear me out real quick. JB is both important and literally halfway through both the names. Jackson Banner has a whitish blonde curly hairstyle similar to an afro that covers up his eyeballs, and Luffy's hairstyle is obviously white and curly as well, just like many things in his Gear 5th form. Both of them seem to have smoke surrounding them, with Luffy having a smoke ring and Jackson Banner being the only member of Roger's crew to have smoke in the background of his panel. And most obviously both the characters are laughing in these forms, but let's look away from that for now and go back to the individuality of him having his own panel. Jackson Banner is strangely isolated from the rest of Roger's crew, and usually these panels that are very small are used for transitioning from one scene to another. However, Roger is continuing his same speech right after, so it made me very confused as to why this would be important. That's until I saw that Roger was referring to Joy Boy in the panel right after. Is it possible that Jackson Banner being isolated and put into a small panel was intentional, sort of a magnifying glass to look at this specific panel before continuing on to what Roger was saying? And unlike every other page in this flashback, the borders of this page are gray instead of black, alluding to this page being more important to see the small details than every other one. So why am I being so hyper analytical for one panel of one page with one character who has no dialogue and only laughs, and that's it? That's his only appearance in the entire series. This dude has to be just nothing, right? Well, no. This dude is the reason why Roger found the One Piece, and here's why. I decided to make a sub goal, 10,000 subs and I get a One Piece tattoo. If you're interested, subscribe, let's get into this. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This is by far the most ludicrous thing you've ever said. This is more of an L than the Serizawa video. And first off, no, it's not. Let me explain to you why I think this is the case in two simple words. Crew dynamics. Let's look at Luffy's crew in comparison to Blackbeard's crew. Now, we already know a lot about the Straw Hats, so I'm not going to draw too long on this topic, but essentially, Luffy's crew isn't just a crew. They are a family. Luffy and the Straw Hats are ready to ride or die for every single member of their crew. It's already happened multiple times in the story with Robin and Sanji, and even in scenarios where the crew doesn't get along with one another, like with Usopp in Water 7 and Sanji on Whole Cake, you can clearly tell that they care about each other no matter what and are willing to do anything. And even if the crew does bicker every now and again, like Zoro and Sanji constantly fighting with one another, they know when things get serious, they're willing to put all of it to the side to make sure that they care about Luffy, their goal, and making him Pirate King. The crew is also able to make fun of each other, joke around, and just have a good time because they know that none of it really matters. And even though Luffy is a bit crazy every now and again and drives them to the scary place or the dangerous place rather than going the safe route, they know they can trust in him because they think of him as a friend and someone they genuinely respect. And we can see that this same dynamic is present in Roger's crew, where everyone respects Roger. They do go on a lot of fun adventures, they love to party, make fun of each other, and have a dream to go find the final island. Although we all know him as the Pirate King, and clearly he can definitely hold a bone to anyone in the entire world, Roger didn't even have a boat, so he needed Rayleigh. And then he needed so many other people on his journey, as we could tell throughout all of Oden's flashback. So the dynamic between Luffy and Roger's crew is similar, which is perfect because all the Roger pirates find similarities to Roger in Luffy. So I wouldn't be shocked if Luffy finds the One Piece in a very similar way to how Roger did. But now let's compare Luffy to Blackbeard. The first time we're actually introduced to Blackbeard's crew, we see their agendas plain and simple. They're only in it for the prize and not for the journey. And this is never seen more evidently then at Marineford when Blackbeard is taking Whitebeard's fruit, when Shiryu says straight up, "If it fails, are we splitting up?" Clearly, none of the Blackbeard pirates have any investment in one another, and only are caring about the prize at the end of the journey, the One Piece. None of them have any investment in personal growth for one another, any investment in actually caring about one another. They're all in it for one single goal, which is incredibly similar to what Rocks was in the past. And I personally believe that the fate of the Blackbeard pirates will be incredibly similar to the fate of the Rocks pirates, where both the crews don't really want to talk about their time involved with one another. And I believe that this fall off of the Blackbeard pirates will happen at the moment that they reach Laugh Tale, and they all start to betray one another in an effort to get the One Piece. However, their idea of what the One Piece isn't actually going to be the One Piece at all. The Blackbeard pirates are very superficial, vain, and immature. If someone on Blackbeard's crew tried to teasingly make fun of another member, I assume they would be dead within literally less than a few minutes. They'll see Roger's treasure that he left on Laugh Tale and assume that's the One Piece, when the real One Piece is something minor and insignificant, similar to the story of the Holy Grail, where there were many, many golden lavish cups surrounding the Holy Grail, but the real Holy Grail was pretty insignificant looking in comparison, because it's the meaning of the object, not the object itself, that's important. It's also possible that the scenario could play out like this. They get to Laugh Tale and there's absolutely nothing on the island, causing them to completely come into a frenzy, start attacking one another, and realizing that Roger played them, when in fact the One Piece is actually there, they just didn't realize it. This is very similar to the chapter with Gaimon all the way at the beginning of the story, where you discover that the real treasure isn't the treasure you've been searching for, but what's on the island already. Luckily, we know that the One Piece is actually an item that Roger saw and laughed at. So this had me thinking, what's something that both Luffy and Roger might experience that Blackbeard might not? And this made me think about the way that their crews interact with one another, and that led me to one final solution. The way that I think Luffy and Roger found the One Piece, but Blackbeard won't. And that's by having friends. And I know that might sound kinda corny. That makes it seem like the One Piece is the friends they made along the way, and in essence, it is. However, this outcome allows the One Piece to be something a lot grander than just some meaningful message, and being a physical object in this world, only achieved by the friends that they made along the way, which I think is a really great way of going about it. But then, what do I think the One Piece actually is? I personally think it's going to be an insignificant object that was only able to be found by Luffy and Roger, and I think that Blackbeard won't be able to find it because of his lack of friends. So I have ideas of what the One Piece could be found with, however I don't have an idea of what the One Piece could be. That is until I saw Dax Sake's Lafro Tale video. The One Piece is an afro might sound absolutely insane and completely ridiculous, but he gives a lot of great evidence as to why this would be the case, and I definitely think this is a possibility for what the One Piece is going to be. And this sort of cemented a new idea into place. And yes, it all comes down to Jackson Banner. Jackson Banner has a whitish blonde curly hairstyle, similar to an afro. Hopefully you didn't forget about him. But what are the afro connections between Roger and Luffy's crew? Luffy has Brook, who is an afro as a major part of not only his backstory, but his character design, and we have Jackson Banner, who coincidentally just so happens to have an afro, and all these connections to Joy Boy. Yes, Roger and Luffy both have crew members with afros, but is that enough to make a distinct point on how exactly they're going to find the One Piece? In my honest opinion, no. But it's the fact that Luffy and Roger's crews both share this joyful and comical nature, and as a result, I definitely think that Luffy and his crew will laugh when seeing the One Piece as well. But how exactly did they find the One Piece? Simple. By making fun of the people with the afros. Throughout One Piece, Luffy has been prone to do impressions of other members of the Straw Hat crew, but I think when Luffy sees an afro on the ground on Laugh Tale, his immediate reaction will be to put it on and say that he's Brook. I personally believe that Roger might have gone through this exact same scenario, with Jackson Banner being made fun of because of his afro. But there's even the option of Luffy putting it on and remembering his time as Afro Luffy, which would be a great moment to show that the journey is indeed more important than the destination, opposing Blackbeard's fundamental beliefs. Blackbeard's crew is always so serious, only focusing on the One Piece itself and not the journey to get to the One Piece. As a result, they stop caring about trying to get to know each other and really feel comfortable around each other, which in turn makes them not actually realize what the true One Piece actually is. Only when people are willing to just let go and be able to have some fun, they'll be able to find the real One Piece, which was something nobody would have ever expected. While the Lapro Tale example is something that's a bit more concrete, I definitely think that the One Piece will be found through the journey to get to the One Piece and the friends you've made along the way to get to the One Piece. What the One Piece is doesn't necessarily matter to me. What I think is more important is the duality between Luffy and Blackbeard's crews and how their differences affect how they reach the end goal of the story. There's a reason that Luffy was so distraught after losing Ace, but was only brought back from the depths of his own mind by the thought of his own crew, his friends, his backup, his support. Every captain might be the main character of their own story, but the crew is what allows the captain to be such a dynamic figure in the world. Having the One Piece only be found because of Luffy having his crew would be a really powerful way to end the story, seeing that Luffy's crew is the thing that helped him escape from the darkness within himself, and Blackbeard, being the person with a literal darkness ability, isn't going to find the One Piece because he doesn't care about his crew. It's a really cool dynamic in a way. One Piece is a comedy first and foremost, and it's really fitting that the crews that were focused more on the adventure and not the destination are the ones who are able to be more comfortable, more comical in general. And while Luffy and his crew are overjoyed by finding the One Piece, Blackbeard and his crew will be angered, frustrated, and in disbelief. Now, if Jackson Banner is important to all this or not, we'll just have to wait and see.